Welcome to today's webinar, which is going to be on getting you started with Learn with Nala. So if you are recently or have been recently set up as a tutor, this will be useful for you. Or maybe if you were some time ago, but you haven't had a chance to explore the platform, hopefully this will be useful for you as well. And as Fergus mentioned, the webinar will be recorded and then put onto the events page after the webinar today, so that will go up next Monday, so you can always play this back. So what I'm going to go into today is going to be how you would create a learner account and register a learner for a course, how you would then register for multiple courses, and then the tutor view. So to help learners get started, as a tutor and Learn with Nala, we will set you up as a tutor account on the platform. So it means that your centre has to be registered. If your centre isn't registered and this is something that you're interested in just out of, I suppose, to get started with maybe some e-learning, then I would recommend to go to courses.nala.ie. And I'll just show you this here. So if you go to courses.nala.ie and fill out Become a Centre, you can fill out that form there, and then that'll kick off the process to help you become a centre. Okay, so just to bear that in mind, courses.nala.ie and go to Become a Centre. So once that process is kicked off and you become a centre, there's a form that has to be filled out, which is a memorandum of understanding. Then any tutors that are working in your centre can be set up with tutor accounts. Initially last year when we were setting up centres, we were trying to set up just 5 tutors at a time on a centre, but we can do more than that. So if you have other colleagues that are interested in becoming registered tutors on the platform, just email me after this today and I can set them up. When you are registered as a centre and you're set up with a tutor account, you'll get a particular link that looks something like this. So it's a big long link, usually with some kind of code at the end of it. Okay, and in the email there should be some information that says this is your centre name. Okay, so even though there is this page courses.nala.ie and you could register here as a new user, this is really for independent learners, so learners who are not in a centre. So that your learners can be listed against your centre, it has to be a particular centre link. So for example, if I put in a link like this, which is INVUP, that's tied to the centre Involve Youth Project. Okay, so it's important that your learners are registering with this particular link, which you may have to do on their behalf or in conjunction with them on a Teams call or something like that in these COVID times. Okay, but it has to be that particular link. Otherwise, they won't be registered under your centre. So just going back to the slide again. So you have to use that particular link, which we'll provide to you. Create the account, so fill out some information, and then register for courses. So there's a 2-step process. I've put in a note here that even right-on learners, so many of you may be coming from centres that would have used our old platform, they will also have to go through this process as well. So we ended the old platform this time last year, and we couldn't move learner data onto the new platform. That wouldn't work with GDPR. So we're starting from scratch. Also note, if 2 or more accounts are created, the work can't be merged. So that's why it's really important that when your learners are registering their account, that they're using this link, okay? Or whatever link it is that we provide. It will always be some kind of 3-letter code with XP or UP at the end. So once we in Nala email you this link, then click on that, and then the learner, or you on their behalf or with them, can fill out the following information. So the username can be any simple name. So I might put in something like that. Okay. Again, the password you can make up yourself. Okay, so unlike the old platform, you were given a password. This time you can make it up yourself. It does require an email, so please note that. Then first name, last name. And then address. Okay, note here that it asks for PPSN. Okay, you may ask, why is that? Well, this platform is funded by Solus, and Solus in turn has a requirement from the European Social Fund that service provision in Ireland, that learners would be registered on a PLSS, which is a Solus database. So if you're not in an ETB centre and you don't have any affiliation with an ETB, because we're providing that service, we are required to put that data onto the Solus database. So that's why we ask for that. Gender, we just have male and female, and then date of birth. Okay. The Learning Centre, even though there's an arrow there, there's no other options. So again, if you'd worked on Write On, there might have been a list of 190 centres that you'd have to find your way through it to find your particular centre. So that's why this link, as I say, is important. And then there's some terms and conditions and a privacy policy. When you click on those links, it will bring you off to a page where there's a video that explains what the terms of service and privacy policy is. So they can be played and then create account. So that's the first step, okay? So now this learner's account is created. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to now register for courses. So what we've done to try and simplify things is you can either pick individual courses for a learner, and you can click on more information here, and there's a video that explains what that course is about, so the learner can play that and understand. And you can click on register now for individual courses. So we have 3 at level 1 at the moment, and we have 8 at level 2, and we have 7 at level 3, and we're hoping to have more coming out this year. So starting with personal and interpersonal skills, and more will be added to this list as the year goes on. Or you can choose that the learner would enroll in a bundle. And what that means is if you choose a major award, say level 2 certificate in general learning, if the learner clicks on that, then you'll see these courses listed here. So there's reading, writing, listening and speaking, pattern and relationship, using technology and personal decision making. So it means that the learner only needs to do 1 click to be registered into all those courses. So I would recommend that because that will save you time. So I could click on this. And you can see that you get this notification, thank you for registering, and it's saying that this learner account now is enrolled in this course. What I could do at this point is if I wanted, or if this particular learner wanted to do another course that's maybe not included in that bundle, at this point I could use my back button and then scroll down to one of the other courses. Maybe it's something like setting learning goals at level 2 that's not in the bundle, and click register now. Okay, so then that learner is registered in that course, and maybe the learner might want to also register for a level 3 course. You can always go back in later on by going to courses.nala.ie and re-register for courses again, okay? But it can save you a bit of time if at the start you register for as many courses as you think the learner might like to do over a year by doing it that way. Now, if I click on clicking here, it should bring me into the platform. Unfortunately, I was already logged in as a tutor account, so I will now log in with my new account, which is my C-Wheel in Test 22. Okay, so now I've an account made and I'm registered for courses. So as a learner, this is what I'm going to see. So under my courses, I can see all the courses that I'm registered in, or if I click on level 2, I should see the courses in that bundle plus the setting learning goals that I also registered for. If I click on level 3, I'll just see that one course, communications. What you'll notice about this page here is that the content and the courses that the learner is going to do is underneath here, but you see that there is this banner. Okay, at the moment I've a simple one in for test center. So if you're in an ETB, we'd put up an ETB banner. If you're a school, if you're another type of service provider, we'll put the logo for your center up here as well. We do call the platform Learn with NALA, but we recognize that these learners are your learners and you're helping them to get through the content on the platform. So that's why we've created this space so that learners feel that they're logging into something that's part of what you're doing. And we can change those logos as well. So again, you can email me if you want to have your logo changed. That logo would be done as part of that initial process to set up the center. Okay, other things to note here for that learner page is I can see my name there of my that's to do with my account. There's a little notification here. If I click on that, I can see if there's any announcements. This is useful if later on we have verifiers, so that's NALA tutors that work to correct portfolio work that's going to be in the platform. Once any feedback is given on portfolios, the little orange dot will appear up here to indicate that. Okay, so when you're explaining this to learners, you can explain that if they see an orange dot, it means that there's some kind of notification coming in, some kind of announcement. When we do publish announcements, we'll also put them up here. So if it's maybe a deadline to do with QQI certification, where we're collecting in all the work to submit it to QQI, those kind of announcements will be there. We also have this help information and other resources as well. So it's just to explain that to the learner. So to get started on a course then, if I go to all and if I click on a course like pattern and relationship, okay, so this is now the page into the course. Okay, so this is the course homepage. If I want to get back to where I just came from, which is the overall homepage for me and my account, then I just click on the house symbol. Okay, so to click into a course, there's going to be some announcements. These are typically videos that explain how you can get an award, or what the course is about. These can be played in a small view, or you can do a click onto the square to make it big as well. Okay, so we're trying to, explain to learners really what it is they're doing and what they can expect from doing these courses. So just to go back to the slides again for a second. So I've just gone over how you can help learners get started. So click on the link provided and then register for courses. Then how to help learners through a course. Okay, so learners will need to do an initial assessment at level 2 and level 3. If they fail any of those questions, the grade for that work stays as fail, but what they can do is go through lessons. So I'm going to explain this in a minute, so they can get all the way through to a summative assessment. Okay, because this is all QQI work, there obviously has to be a certain standard, and in some cases there's portfolio work that also needs to be done. Okay, so I'm going to explain that. So there are pathways to course completion. And the first thing that you'll see is that there may be tasks that need to be done. So let's have a look at that. If I click on content, I can see these blocks. Okay, so this is all my course in laid out against the QQI learning outcomes. So there's 4 QQI learning outcomes for pattern and relationship, 4 lessons, and 4 tasks that need to be done in the first block called What Do I Already Know? These tasks really are a kind of recognition of prior learning. So it means that if the learner passes these tasks, they don't necessarily have to go through the lessons. What will happen is an end test will appear at the end. And they could do that. And in this particular course, if the learner passes that, then they will qualify for a QQI award. Naturally, we in NALA would have to check the work and make sure that everything is correct. And if it is, then they'll be automatically forwarded. So to give you an idea what some of these tasks look like, I'll click on Start here. Okay, and on every screen you'll see these little speaker buttons. When you click on that, it will read out the words that are there. Okay, so to navigate through this course then, I'm going to click on Next. Okay, and you'll see things like this. So these are our activities. This type of activity is called a drag and drop. So in this case, the learner needs to pull items from one side to the other. So if I start doing that, and I can also change things around as I'm working, or if I click on this clear answers, it will reset everything again. Okay. No. And then note that when everything is done, then this check answers appears. Okay, and it gives me a score. So then I'll click and go on to the next one. Okay, some of the questions are going to look like this, and they're a quiz. So I have to fill out what the number pattern is. Click on continue. So it brings me to the second part. Okay, now on purpose I got some things wrong there just to show you what's going to happen. So we try to keep this initial assessment very short and to map it to the lessons that will come up in a minute. In this particular one, the learner would have to play an audio and then answer the questions. So I happen to know the answers for these myself, so I can skip through it. And then the last one is another type of drag and drop. And you can see as I'm doing this, the kind of wording that's used in the questions as well. So it's everything from everyday life. Okay, and I get my score. When I go next, there's 2 videos here. Okay, so one explains what you could do if you think you got everything right, and the other one explains what to do if you got some things wrong. And we always say, you know, that that's okay. There's things that you can do to move on through the course. So I recommend playing those and getting the learner to be aware of what they can do. And then you can click on next and I'm done, or you can also click on back to content because it'll bring you back to this page, this lessons page with all the blocks. Note now the tasks that were here have disappeared. So you only ever have one opportunity to do those tasks. Okay. What we recommend in the videos is for the learner to go to My Progress. So this is with my learner account. And if I go to grades, under here, under other items, I can see a grade for each of those tasks. Okay, so we saw that I got one wrong and it says go to lesson, while the other ones are pass. So what this means is that the learner needs to do lesson 2. Okay, if I had failed lesson 3 and it said go to lesson, then I'd have to do lesson 2 and 3. Because when I look at my content at the moment, that end test isn't there. The end test is what we call conditional, and it's only ever going to appear until I've fulfilled the necessary requirements to get through the course. And those requirements are, I can either get all the tasks correct in that block, what do I already know? And then I can go straight to the end test. Or if I happen to get all of them wrong, then I'd have to go through all the lessons and then get to the end test. Or like what happened to me there now, I can get a combination. So I might get some things right and some things wrong, in which case I have to go and do the equivalent lessons. So as it says there, only do the lessons that correspond to what was done wrong. And when the end test is done and portfolio work, then the course is complete. So in this case, what I'd have to do is go to lesson 2 and then start into the lesson. Okay, so there's a video here that explains what this lesson's about, so that can be played. Some of the screens then are information screens because this is a lesson, so there's more opportunities to try things again. But you can see the activities are still the same as what we saw in that initial assessment, that first block. So there's going to be a drag and drop. But now there's an opportunity to try again. Okay, so that was something we didn't have before because it's a lesson. So if I clicked on try again, it would reset it and I could have another go. So there's lots of opportunities for learners to practice their skills and work through the content to brush up to get to the end point. Okay. So I'm going to just skip through some of the lessons, but I'll give you an idea about what some of the activities are like. This is a new type of activity that we didn't have on the old platform. This is a sequencing one. So in this case, I need to match the words below with the right words above. So for example, the area code for Dublin, B1, and you see when it is in the right place, then I get this green bar. So the idea would be to have green bars under all the items. So it's quite a visual type of exercise. Okay, and then I got the option to try again if I want, and it would reset it. Okay, some of the questions will often have a little hint as well, so the learner can click on that. Okay, there's a little bug on that one, which I'll need to fix. But then particularly at level 3, there's hints that might involve like maths calculations and so on, so they can be useful. And as I say, there's information screens. These other type of screens are things that need to be filled in. So this is a fill in the blank. So the learner would have to click into the box and type in what they think are the right answers from the words above. Again, they can click on the speaker symbol to have everything read out. Okay, and then I get my score. With your tutor accounts, you'll be able to go through all these lessons as well, and you'll be able to practice these yourselves before you might do a blended learning scenario. And I'll show you how to do that shortly. This is another new type of question. This is called a hotspot. So there's usually an instruction that will say you have to look for particular things and the number of things you have to look for. And when the learner clicks around, and they get item found, then a little question will pop up about maybe something in the question or some related terminology. Okay, and in this case, I have to keep going until all the things are answered. So, this one is around the terminology like dozen, single, couple. And I have to keep searching. And there should be one more. That one. And it says underneath the number of items that have been found. Okay, and at this point, I could do the activity again, or I can move on to the next activity. Okay. So again, you can see the type of language that's used. And the level that this is at. Okay, there you noticed that I was trying to put extra things in here on purpose, and a little red warning came up telling me that the area was full. So it'll only allow, in this case, 2 things to go into this box or 4 things to go into that box. Okay. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea of the lessons and the kind of content that's in it. Okay. And at this point, if I want to go back to the lesson screen again, I click on back to content, and everything in that lesson has been completed. Okay, unlike the old platform Write On, a learner was only exposed to content depending on how they got on in that initial assessment. So they weren't able to dip in and out of lessons, whereas on the new platform you can. So we know that this learner only needs to do lesson 2 to get to the end. But if I decided I want to dip into lesson 3, I can go and do that as well. And all the different screens that I'll see are listed out here. And this might be something useful for yourselves to know as tutors, that when we go in with the tutor account shortly, you can dip in and out. So if you were doing something about maybe naming conventions or about observing people or whatever it is that you might be doing in the class, there might be an exercise then that might help support what you're doing. So you can show it and then dip in and out onto things that are useful. So there's another example of a hotspot question. Okay. And in terms of tracking my own progress, I see the little notification that's up there that's coming into me as a learner, and it's telling me that my grade is pass. Okay. So that's useful for learners to see that of the 4 tasks I had to do, everything is passed, one, which is go to lesson. And I can also go to my progress as a learner. Okay, and I can go to grades. Note that task 2, it will stay as go to lesson. Now, I have gone to the lesson, but the grade for that task, it was fail, okay? And it will always stay as fail. And that's okay, because it is an initial assessment, really just as a way to see what kind of skills the learner may or may not have. And if you choose not to do these initial assessments, that's okay too. You might, get learners to work their way through all the lessons, and then the end test will appear. But that grade stays the same. But if I go to content now, and apologies, my page is being a little bit slow. Okay, I'll go back and just see if that brings it up again. Okay, so now if I go to content, I can see that I've done 29% of the course. Now this learner only needs to do lesson 2 to get through the course. But if I click down here, I can see the different modules that are there. Okay, so there's different topics. This is like as I say, table of contents, and I can click into it to get more detail. Okay, so it shows me all the individual screens that have been visited. So I'll show you again how you can view this as a tutor for that learner account as well. Okay, so that's how the learner would get started in a course. And as I say, to get through the course, then they either have to get the tasks right or do all the lessons or a combination of both. Okay, I would recommend that you check out one of the past webinars that was done on portfolio work, and I will send out these slides to everybody who's registered today so that you have that link as well. So that'll explain about, I suppose, the standard that's there at level 2 and level 3. Okay, so let me log out of this learner account and then log in as a tutor. Now, just to note that, sorry, as a tutor, you will log in with your NALA created account. Okay, so you don't need to make a tutor account. And then if you want to see details of what's happening, you can see it at a course level. So you'd have to click on a course, then click on course admin and class progress or grades if you want to see what's happening. So when we give you that link, which is the one for your center, will also give you your tutor login details. So I'm going to log in here with a tutor account that I have. And you'll notice that the screen looks the very same. Okay, so there's courses there, level 2 and level 3. And if I want to see all courses, then they'll all appear there. As a tutor, you don't need to enroll in courses. So we will give you an account and will automatically enroll you to all the courses. If there's any issue, for example, if a course doesn't appear for you for whatever reason, again, just email me and I can enroll you into the course. So you don't need to do anything. So everything looks the same as before. So for example, if I go to level 2 general learning and go into that pattern and relationship course and content, so you're getting to see the content exactly the same as what the learner would see. So you would see the tasks here under what do I already know, and you would see the lessons as well. Okay, so all the lessons that I've just done. So it is useful, as I say, to be able to dip in and out if you wanted to just click into a particular screen, and give that as an exercise to do. That's something you can do. And then the interesting piece is if you wanted to know about how learners are doing on a particular course. Okay, unfortunately at the moment we don't have a way that you can see what's happening overall for your centre. That is something that we're working on and hopefully that we can launch this year. So that is in the pipeline. For the moment you can only see what's happening for your centre on a course level. So if I click on pattern and relationship, and now I click on course admin, so this is something not available to the learners, and click on class progress, I can see all the learners listed in that course. I can see if they've logged in or not. So no logins for some, one login for that learner. I can see how much content they visited. So that's both lessons and assessments. And I can see their overall grade. And even if I hover over these little numbers here, you can see or should see it changing. So there's my tasks, task 3, task 4, 2, and 1. Okay, so if we look at maybe this successful learner for a second, I can click on the learner and I can see under grades, the results from that initial assessment. So in this case, this learner got everything right. So all they would have to do is do an end test. And here are the results of this end test. Okay, so there's questions here which would appear. I can look at this in a slightly different way if I click on content. Which again, apologies, is just taking a second. Okay, so under the content here, again, I can click on the arrow and I can drill down into the details of what it is the learner visited. Okay. And I can also see how often they've accessed the course. I can see the access history. Where you see the tick, it means that the learner has visited the page. Now note, they may not necessarily have spent much time on the page, because this shows me the time in seconds or in minutes, okay? But if they clicked onto the page, that tick will appear here. So just be careful when a learner says that maybe they've done a lesson, you can go in by going to course admin, class progress, and clicking on a learner name, let's say this learner in this case, and then under content, apologies, my broadband is a little bit slow today. I can also do it this way. You can see how long they've spent on different things, okay? So you can see, for example, 100% was done on that first block, and I can dig in here to get the details. And this is, you can see it's popping up there. This is the details for lesson 1. So we have start here, patterns, and so on. Okay. And what you notice is like the learner is spending 9 seconds on this. So I can click onto that page and it will actually bring me to the page that the learner was on. So, you know, would it take 9 seconds to complete this? Maybe, but maybe for other learners, not. Okay, so it's just to be aware of that. So to get learners started, we discussed that, to how to help learners through a course, and then how you would work as a tutor. As I say, you can go to class admin, class progress. The other piece you can go to is grades. Okay, so if I show you that again. So if I'm in the course pattern and relationship, go to course admin and grades. And now I can see all the grades for my learner. Okay, so the progress view, that's one way to view it. This is another way. So you can see all the different tasks in green where things may need to be redone or done at all. It'll appear in red. And I can scroll across and see how learners got on overall. So basically we're looking to get all green there. Where there's portfolio work, which tends to be at level 3. So if I click into my level 3 general learning and pick one of those courses like maths and course admin, and again grades. So now I'm interested to see what kind of grades are coming up for my maths learners. So again, I can scroll across and see all the tasks. So that's the initial assessment. I can see questions, which is the summative assessment. So this first learner has done a lot of those. And if I scroll all the way across to the right, there should be portfolio tasks as well. Okay, so it'll appear as not done yet if the portfolio work hasn't been corrected by a verifier. So we would have an ALA tutor that would correct this work, or if the learner hasn't submitted anything. So to give you an idea of what the portfolio work looks like, quite often it tends to be files that you need to upload. So if I go to the maths course and portfolio, you can see what the expectation is. So in this case, the learner would need to draw shapes and submit them. In this one, we actually like to have a hard copy because we need to measure out the shapes. And in a lot of cases, they're files to upload. So the learner can click on the file and then they can fill it out, save it, and then submit it. Okay. So that's a fly through the platform. I appreciate that there is an awful lot there, and that's why I'm saying to all centres that if you want a follow-up Q&A session with you or a few of your colleagues, I'm happy to do that. So my email details are here, cwhelan@nala.ie, and I'm happy to set up a Teams call where I can share my screen and go through queries with you. I'm just before I open up the Q&A, I'm just going to open a poll and just get some feedback from you. So the first question in the poll is what level of content you're working on with your learners. Okay, so I just see the answers coming in, and from what I can see, most of you seem to be working at level 2, followed by level 3. Okay, great. Thank you for that one. Okay, so that's just for yourselves. I'm just sharing the results. Okay, then the next one I just want to ask is, what's the biggest barrier to getting learners started? Because I appreciate this is a lot of information that learners are working in different places. Maybe broadband's not so good. Maybe there's not enough devices in a household. Okay, so if you want to think about that one and put in your answer, from what I can see that's coming in so far is that learner confidence is a big barrier. And when I open up the Q&A, I'm happy to hear if there's anything that we can do to try and help improve that learner confidence. So I'm interested to hear your ideas on that. Okay. So thank you for that. So that's the result there. And then the last one is, how can we in NALA help you and your learners and colleagues to use the platform? And you should be able to choose more than one answer if you like. Okay, great. So what I see coming in is that it's a lot about maybe more webinars showing different aspects. So again, I'm happy to hear your comments on that when I open up the Q&A now. Q&A sessions for the tutors, yes, and by all means, please email me, and I'm happy to set that up. So I'm going to close that and just share those results as well. Okay. So if you have any questions at this point, you can put up your hand. I'm also going to have a look to see if there's anything in the questions box to see if anything came in. Okay, so feel free to put up your hand and ask any questions. Okay, I see. What I'll do is I'll unmute you so you can come in and ask the question. So I see that there was a query beside you, Ashley. So if you like, I've just unmuted you now. And if you want to unmute yourself, Aisling, you're welcome to come in and raise any questions that you have.
Hi, no, there wasn't a question for me. That was just the beginning, just when you asked who was participating.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thanks, Aisling. Okay, I'm just going down through the list here. Christine, I see that there was a query beside your name, so I'm just unmuting you. And if you want to unmute yourself, Christine.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks.
Great.
I suppose my only question that I have, I'm one of those tutors that has started and then over Christmas it's all kind of stopped, and
Sure.
I'm kind of my head back around it again. I understand about the link and the link to register the tutor onto the courses, but once that's done, do they ever need the link again afterwards, or they just use their own password, their own email to log in to the site?
Yeah, that's a really good question. They won't need it again. So if I just log out of this one here now and make sure that I'm logged out of my tutor account. Okay, sometimes what happens if I'm working between multiple accounts, it'll pick up that I'm still logged in. But at this point, I could go to existing user if I wanted to register for another course, and I can put in my learner details. So if it was C Whelan Test 22, that was my learner account. So note what happens now. It's bringing me back to this courses place, and I could click on start now, and from here I could register for courses. So yes, they'll only ever need that link once. The other thing, just to note on this page for all of you, I can click on my account and I can update my profile if I want. So if I got some of the details wrong in the beginning or I wasn't sure, then I can go in and update it. And it's really important that we keep them updated, because hopefully learners will go on to get QQI certification, and we will in some cases have to put them on to PLSS if they're not in an ETB.
Is the PPS number on that page, or is that somewhere else?
It will be on that page, yeah.
So that can be edited there if necessary.
Yeah, I mean, I really would recommend to use the right PPSN to begin with, because we will be taking those details periodically over the year and putting it onto that PLSS system. So if it's incorrect, then we'll only be coming back and trying to find out from the learner what it is. It'll show up if it's invalid. So just bear that in mind. But you know, there is an option to update details in there. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Kathy, I saw that there was just a question maybe beside you and Anne-Marie. So I might take it in alphabetical order first and just unmute Anne-Marie.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm just wondering, when is the next QQI submission date?
Yeah, good question. Typically we do them twice a year. So we usually do around in April, May, and then we would do another one in November, submitting the work to QQI in December. So I don't have exact dates at the moment. There is an easing that you can subscribe to that will give the exact dates, but you can expect that it will be probably around April, May.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a million.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, I'll just have a look through again and see if there's anyone else. Kathy, I'm not sure if that was a question beside you. I'll unmute you if you like, and you're welcome to come in. And if there's anything that people want to put into the chat or the questions box as well, feel free to do so, in particular as to how we can help you. Just while I'm unmuting people, I see that there's one from Nicola. So Nicola, I've just unmuted you. If you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to come in. Hi, Nicola.
No, actually, hi. No, I was just wondering about the QQI submission as well, but that question has just been answered for me, so thank you.
Yeah, and actually, maybe Nicola, while I have you, one of the things that we had done before is we used to have 3 rounds a year. And I'd be interested just, you know, as a tutor's thought, would that be useful if there was more points in the year that we were collecting information and submitting it? Do you think that would be useful?
I think the option to be there would be useful, all right. I think it would be, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's something that, you know, we've certainly discussed internally, and yeah, I suppose I was interested to know how useful that would be. Okay, so thanks for that,
Yeah.
Nicola.
Okay, thank you.
And Ruth, I saw that there was a question beside you, so I'm just going to unmute you, and if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to come in.
Hi.
Hi.
I just had a question. When it was listing the courses and you had level 3 and there's level 2, there was brightspace courses?
Yes, so let me go in. Okay, so if I log out here, one thing I should say is that as a tutor, you can now sign up for courses for yourself. Okay, so they may come up under that. Brightspace is the name of this platform, so there may be courses that appear here. Initially, the provider of the platform would have had courses that would have helped anybody creating courses and learners, but you know, I suppose a lot of Brightspace clients would be third level, so we felt that maybe the content wasn't useful at this point, but we've left it in as a category, so there's nothing there at the moment. But what you might notice, if I click on Tutor CPD, there is a course there that I've logged into myself. And as a NALA or as a tutor has been set up with NALA, if you click on tutor courses, so let me make sure that I've logged out of this one. Okay, cancel that. So note the browser there is picking up that I'm logged in as the tutor. So if I just go back to courses.nala.ie myself, now as a tutor, not a learner, and if I click on tutor courses, I can see the courses that are available there. So the plan is for another 2. I think this preparing learning materials is actually coming out this month. And then there's a workshop that's due to come out as well this year. And they're free. So you can register for those. And to give you an idea of what the content looks like, I'll just click onto that. And again, the way that you would interact with that tutor course is the same like the learners. Okay, so there's a block of content, and then there's screens that you can work through. So I don't know if that answered your question, Ruth.
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, if anybody has any final questions or points or anything you'd like to raise, go ahead and put up your hand. I'll just do a final check of the questions box. And there was one about the submission date. Yeah. So what I would recommend, as I say, is to subscribe to our e-zine. And when I set you up as a tutor, I'll give you a link to that, and that will give you the dates once they're decided. So with COVID now, we try and meet to do a round of verification ourselves, and we would bring in an external authenticator, and we would like to be able to do that face to face if we can, but we may have to do it virtually depending on how things work out, so that might influence the date, but you can expect that it'll be April or May. Okay, so it's just coming up to 2 o'clock. That's, I suppose, all really I have to say today. To thank you very much for your time again. To note that there are some handouts that are available in the handout section. So there's a getting started guide, there's a tutor guide, which you can also find when you click on help. If you go to the home page and help, then the tutor guide is there. Okay, and we are working on a getting started course as well for learners, so that will be available in the coming months to try and help them a bit more through the platform. And if you have any questions, feel free to come back to me by email. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Bye.